I went online to become a private detective. It was a private detective school online, and I paid online. I never heard from them again. I thought to myself, I either got ripped off, or this is my first case. This is a journalistic podcast, Shannon. We vaccinate our listeners with answers. And I'm going to keep lip-syncing the important questions until TikTok gives me a show. Shannon, how can the moon landing be real if the moon itself is fake?
That's not true, Mike.
Oh, isn't it true, Shannon? You're fake. You're a hologram.
1 in 5 New Yorkers are food insecure. What's your solution for that, Mike?
Fortune cookie. Because that's food and advice at the same time. Shannon, at least have the decency to backstab me, okay? You stab me in the front every time. Some fans can't watch the podcast because they're triggered by our sexuality. And message to those fans, we will leak a sex tape right into your mouth.
This is Mike Vecchione Investigates.
And you're not better than me. Welcome to another episode, guys. Mike Vecchione Investigates. We're happy you are here. We are thrilled that you have joined us once again, especially for the YouTube premiere every Wednesday at 6 o'clock, which it was at 8:15 last week for some reason. But you know what? We like to keep you on your toes. We want to test how dedicated you are to this podcast. And sometimes, either through our own error or various reasons, we will put the premiere at a different time to see if you can figure it out, because a lot of you guys are, get complacent, and we have to test you. That's what's great about this podcast. I'm always pushing and testing the low-income whites who watch this show. Thank you for being here. I have a very special guest today, dear friend, comedian, author, Mr. Ben Rosenfeld. Ben, thank you for joining us.
Hello, nice to be back, Mike. Thanks for having me. Love the new intro. Hadn't heard that one before.
Well, it's excellent. It's really excellent. Bobby did a lot of great work on it. And we've suspended, just so you know, so you're not shocked. And Shannon, I want to talk to you about this because there's a whole thing online of we suspended the horns. There's no.
It's a real journalism podcast.
It's a real journalism podcast, and there's no horns because we've decided that our fans are smart enough to know when to laugh, and that we've decided that temporarily because we're not sure. So we're going to give it a couple episodes, and we're gauging the. And you know what, Shannon? Can we read them? Can we read them right now, the comments on the horns? Because people are making their voices heard, much like a horn, ironically enough.
That's where the horn sound would have gone had you still had horns.
Yes. Had I still had horns, that would have been a big one. But we made the decision, Ben, to suspend the horns for the people who hated them, because we got a lot of comments of people hating them. And now it seems everybody wants them back, unless I read wrong, Shannon.
Yeah, here's one from Lindsay. Great episode and guest. This is from the Samantha Santos episode. Listen to Shannon. You have to keep the air horn. I didn't know when to laugh without it. Glad to have Natalie back too.
And that's Lindsay?
Yes, that was
Lindsay got confused. As a low-income white who probably lives in her parents' basement, she gets confused and she doesn't know when to laugh. Lindsay, I hear you loud and clear. We still have to make a decision, though, and we can't do it just on you, Lindsay, but thank you for writing in. Shannon?
From Cheech L. Mexicano, more Sam, more Natalie, more air horns.
Cheech! Cheech, that's a great name, and he wants more air horns also. And more Natalie, more Sam. Sam was a great episode, by the way, Ben. And Cheech wants more air horns. Cheech El Mexicano?
Yes.
Sounds like a restaurant that I would like to go to. Cheech, thank you for writing in. Shannon, there's got to be one who loves not having hair horns.
I'm trying to find one. I'm not just doing this because this is how I feel. Here's another one. This is from Dan. Don't listen to this stupid internet. Bring back the horns. Podcasters are cutting great theme songs short and playing to the dumb TikTok fools. Keep it real. Keep it funny. Those horns add to the fun. Shannon is right and also sexy.
Dan seems like your future husband.
I think so.
He's making his point known and also trying to get with you. Maybe that's why he wants horns, because you want horns, and Dan's trying to side up to you through the horns.
Maybe. Do you want to hear some more?
Yeah, Dan. Thank you for writing in, Dan. We've got 3 horns and 0 no horns.
This is from Rebecca Dunn. The air horn is aggressive, but I have missed it. I think Shannon has subconsciously trained us all to enjoy it.
Shannon, she's made you out to be a little bit of a devil here.
But she likes it. So
She
that's
does
what
like it,
matters.
and it's grown on her, much like fungus.
This is from Herodotus Jones.
Sounds like a Greek.
Maybe. I get how some folks don't like the horns, but when they're timed right with the right comment, gold.
Boy, this guy really just hedged his bets.
Maybe choose the spots more deliberately. Cheers either way.
Shannon, I love the way he scolded you. After Dan was trying to get to you, Herodotus, who probably lives in Astoria, really said you need to pick your spots. And what a well thought out comment, Herodotus.
What
it
if
makes
you-
me think you actually have a job and you live on your own.
What if you had a 2-horn limit per show? Some sort of like, you got to use
Wow.
it twice.
Ben, there's a reason I love you, and it's because you're solutions orientated. I'm jealous of all the solutions that you come up with, and that was a great one. What do you guys think of a 2-horn limit? Maybe a 5-horn limit?
No,
Five.
3 max.
Three,
Five
three
is
max?
too much.
God, your Russian side is coming through. Where he just like, Ben is not flexible on it. 3-horn max?
I just went up 50%. How's that not flexible?
Wow. The math is confusing our fans.
The low-income whites. I was not told your fans were low-income
They
whites.
are
Otherwise,
low-
I would not have done this show.
That's who we cater to.
I
Ben.
cater to high-income whites.
I know. That's why I had you on. I want you to talk down to them now, as like a guy who went to MIT and was like, is that at that level? Like, I'm just a blue collar, still better than them, but blue collar. But you are way higher up echelon, and I think if you talk down to them, they'll learn their lesson eventually. And
Well, it's taken me years to learn to only talk down to my friends, but not to strangers.
that's right, because your friends get it. We understand.
Most of them do.
and
Not
then the
all
ones
of
who
them.
don't aren't your friends anymore. So it kind of takes care of itself.
Well, sometimes they don't realize I'm making fun of them, so they go along with it, and then they enjoy
They're
that too.
too stupid to get it.
Yeah.
I love it. God, I love that. Shannon, are there more? Because we have a lot. Everybody's pro horn now, all of a
And
sudden.
have you done an Instagram story poll about pro or
We
against?
don't know how to do that on this show. A poll. Come on. Poll
Here's-
is something that these guys' girlfriends and moms dance on.
Here's one that's maybe not 100% pro horn.
Okay.
It says, sometimes I find the air horns annoying, but when there wasn't one at the very beginning of the introduction, I was like, what are we doing? I don't like change.
I mean, pick a side. I like it sometimes, but I don't like it all the time.
Sounds
It's
like that was
come
from
on.
a woman.
Oh,
The,
Ben.
the name is, it's in some sort of symbols, so I can't distinguish either
Non-binary.
way.
A non-binary person who we respect on this show has made their opinion known.
Makes
which
sense.
is-
They couldn't make a binary decision.
They couldn't
about
make
horn,
they
no
couldn't make
horn.
a binary is a 0 and a 1, by the way, in case you're perplexed at home. Ben, you're in the math world. 0 1 0 1 0 0 1 1. That means
Mike just threatened me in
I
binary.
just threatened you in binary terms. Everybody's so down on it, and I'm writing it down now because
Here's
that's a message.
One more.
Okay.
Also on the fence. This is from CH. The horn is definitely missing, but I don't know if I miss it. Let's try a month no horn and see how we feel. # horn break.
You know what, CH? How about you look into yourself during your meditation or whatever you're doing, which I encourage, and come up with some real answers instead of like being like, oh, I don't know how I feel about it in a comment, CH. Get your life together, CH. Stop dragging us through the mud. I don't know how to. That's the same kind of person, CH, who says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Have you ever had a woman say that to you, Ben?
No.
Okay. Well, I have, and it hurts. And that's the way that you're being with the air horn, CH. So you need to examine yourself, do some self-reflection, and come back with a comment where it's either pro or con. We've had no one who's anti-horn, Shannon.
I'm seeing some as I get down to the bottom of the comments
Internet.
here.
Yeah.
From Tyler Rowan, please no more air horns.
Tyler's the first no air horn guy. Wow. Tyler Rohan?
I'm trying to. I feel like
Shannon,
I
did
did
I lose
see.
you?
No,
On
no.
Tyler's name?
No, wait, because I scrolled away from it. I lost it.
Scrolled?
There was one other one that I feel like they didn't like it, but everybody else is saying bring back the air horn.
Wow. We have
Several.
a 2 people who are saying no air horn, everybody else. And I like the way that one person said, yes, Natalie.
Clearly, YouTube is pro air horn because they pushed all the the opposite. No, yeah, YouTube is pro air horn because they pushed all the anti-air horn comments to the bottom.
It's the algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm likes the air horn.
The algorithm loves the air horn. The algorithm needs to be heard. Well, we'll consider it. We're doing this podcast with no air horn, and we have to give it what's it called, Ben? It's called a sample size. We need a larger sample size in order to make an informed decision. Thank you guys for writing in. I know it took a lot for your little hands to get on those keyboards and pick the right letters and put words and sentences together. But that's why you love this show. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to talk down to you, but it's going to make you better.
I would assume most of your low-income whites just talked into their phone, into Siri, to text to type.
Do they know how to do that, Ben? Do they even know how to do that?
I would assume they do that better
I
than
don't
they
know how to
type.
do that.
Well, I haven't shown you yet, that's why.
Listen, the low-income whites who watch the show, and let me define low-income whites. It's everybody who watches the show. If you're black, if you're Spanish, if you're an Indian person, you are a low-income white. Bad news. You're a low-income white. You're living in another body, and that's fine, but just it's important to come out of the closet and admit that you're a low-income white. That's what I mean when I'm calling people low-income whites. Everyone who watches the show, regardless of race, creed, or culture, is, in fact, from the inside out, a low-income white. Thank you for joining us. Ben, let's get to you. And Shannon, thank you for that. The voices are being heard on this show, and it's important. And some people do mail in, like people read questions from. We're not going to do that right now because I have my own questions, and I'm a journalist. So
That's where the air horn should have sounded again.
No, Ben, I'm actually a journalist. It's been a long time since you've been on the show.
I see an entire
and,
piece of paper. It's quite intimidating.
And I said comedian and author because the last time you were on, you had a book. So you're a writer and also a comedian. And I want to talk now about something personal, is family. You have one. Our fans don't. How did you put that together?
Well, low-income whites have families as well.
These guys don't. Mostly the people who are watching are incels. So could you explain to them how you put together having a family and what's it like? What's it like to be a part of, dare I say head of, if I was going to use a patriarchal term, of a family?
It's a lot of coordinating schedules.
Okay.
That's the main difference.
Is that what it is now in 2023? Because I knew what it was like in the 80s and the 70s.
There was literally an hour and a half when we were both home at like 11 at night where me and my wife were just going through the next 10 days. Okay, what day is what babysitter? Who's taking her where, when? And then we were just both annoyed at each other at the end of that. And then using 3 years of therapy, I'm like, hey, it's not because we're being shitty to each other. It's because this situation of having to do scheduling for an hour is fucking annoying.
Right. But is it because, like, is it having a kid now is like managing a little celebrity? It's like you're scheduling drivers, you're scheduling activities. It's like, is it like managing a little celebrity? Is that the way you look at parenting? Is that what parenting is now, Ben? I'll put you on the spot. I don't care.
I'm going to go with yes.
That's what it is?
It's like a little celebrity that won't even do their own videos or post when they should.
Right. But do you use her in the videos sometimes?
Occasionally. She has to do something quite funny to get into the social.
Right.
There was one where she got some gift, and she's all excited. She's 5. She gets excited, and she's excited. And then she opens it, and she goes, "That's not a toy," because it was shoes. And she just drops it and storms off.
Right.
And that's the hardest I've laughed all year. Your special was great, though, but not that funny.
Because it wasn't as organic. When small celebrities flip out on their parents, it's priceless.
They don't have the filter yet, so their reaction is all natural.
Well, when she flipped out and went to her room, did she call your wife in, and then your wife pulled you aside and said that she's fired you?
No, I
okay,
did
because
not get the talk.
that's what a celebrity would do. They don't fire you directly. They bring one person in to fire the other person and then rehire somebody else.
Seems like this week's episode is investigating being a celebrity.
No, I'm comparing being our fans don't know what it's like. But now it's like a father and you're like what you've illuminated for us, and that's a big word for our fans. It has to do with lights. What you've illuminated for us is that you guys are managing your child's schedule, and that's a lot of it. Do you ever, and forgive me if I am treading on thin ice here, do you ever spend actual time with her? Or is it all scheduling, get her here, get her here, get her here, get her makeup on for this, get the photo shoot ready for that? It's like, do you actually spend time with her? And what's that like?
The time to the place counts as time.
Okay. You're very efficient, Ben. That's one thing I do know about you.
But yeah, no, I'll take her to I'll be in a Russian class with her Sunday mornings. Or
because you are Russian. For our fans who don't know, Ben, you're Russian, and you speak so well, but you moved over here at what age?
I was 4 years old when my parents moved from Soviet Union at the time to America.
Do you get mad when people say the fall of the Soviet Union because it's negative?
No, it's more of a trip than a fall. More of an oopsie. Well, I guess it was a collapse. Collapse or trip. Fall is
but it's so negative.
More decisive.
But it's so negative. Fall and collapse are both negative terms. I do affirmations, Ben. I don't have to pull rank on you. But fall and collapse are both negative.
What would be a positive term?
Restructuring.
Well, that's also
reinvigorated. Reinvigorated Soviet Union. Reinvigorated Russia. New branding.
Rebranding.
You guys didn't do.
They did a rebranding.
They did a rebranding.
They rebranded.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank
you for giving me credit for something.
We have solved that one.
They rebranded as Russia. Okay, so you came over here at 4 years old. So you take your daughter to a Russian class.
Yeah, we want.
What kind of a class is it exactly? Please be descriptive for our fans who are nervous.
It's language, so they'll do different activities, but all in Russian. So, in addition to me speaking half the time in her to Russian, and whenever my parents see her, they'll mostly speak in Russian to her. This way, she hears other children and adults speak Russian, so it's more likely to stay in her brain. Whereas, if I was the only person that occasionally gave her nuclear launch codes and nothing else,
right,
it probably wouldn't stay in there as good.
I understand. So you take her to Russian classes, and they do activities, which is a very broad term. We don't know what they're actually doing in there. And I think you
arts
made
and crafts, singing songs,
singing Russian songs.
Yes, we did. This past Sunday was the left foot, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. That one, but in Russian.
Is that the national anthem over there?
No.
Okay. Just have to ask these questions for our fans.
Yeah. They're uneducated about Russia. You're trying to help.
They're uneducated, period. I think you covered it. But they don't know about a foreign land. And but I want to stick to being a father here for a second. You take her there to expose her. She's bilingual. She can speak English and Russian. Anything else?
A little bit of Hebrew because she goes to Hebrew preschool.
Hebrew preschool.
So whenever someone lights a candle, she starts singing the Shabbat prayer. It's quite funny.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
The Shabbat prayer. And can I take a second right now because I want to use your Russian for clips and for downloads.
This smoke break is brought to you by YoDelta.com, the official Getting High sponsor of the Gas Digital Network.
So could you, and this is all due respect to your wife, who I know and I love, can you please hit on Shannon or Natalie or both in Russian? Please hit on them.
Конечно, как дела? Я бы с обоим говорил в то же время, а то что какой за русским только с одной женщиной говорит, это очень неинтересно. И никто на меня не смотрит. О, наконец-то кто-то на меня смотрит. Губы у тебя очень хорошие. А та вторая еще не смотрит. Ну же сюда смотри. Ты не туда смотришь. На меня смотри.
Okay, that sounds like hate speech. And I think that would have been, I think that's equal to domestic violence in the United States. What did you actually say to them?
I did feel triggered.
You felt triggered?
I did, yeah. It made me feel nervous.
Well, did that, take Ben out of it because I know he's married and you would never, but if a big 6'5" bald man with tattoos on his eyelids said that to you, would you become aroused, Shannon?
I don't know about aroused.
Because that's a hardcore cold. We're on purpose. We haven't
allowed
revealed. No, we haven't revealed what you've said. Mm-hmm. So keep that in your brain, in your big brain, Ben. There's a lot of room up there because you have a big brain. And Shannon, I want your reaction to that. If it's a big burly guy who maybe does something for the fire department.
Mm-hmm. If that were the case, I would stick around to see if there was some English in there somewhere and I could get somewhere, maybe.
Oh, but English is important?
Yeah.
But what about the language? What I'm asking, Shannon, is the language itself an aphrodisiac? An aphrodisiac is a big word for our fans who...
turn on. It means turn on.
Yeah. They can't get turned on by anything because they're dormant.
I was going to say no, but... If it's coming from like a menacing looking man, this is going to sound...
I just got called a wimp. Go on, Shannon. I pay attention to the subtlety.
No, because
Ben can aggressively do your taxes. That's the way it looks.
It's scary.
Okay, yeah.
But no, it just... because I do like somebody who is like a more of like an aggressive, scary person. Yeah. And you are a nice man, Ben.
Yes, but I'm listen to my question, Shannon.
That's
it's
what I'm
a
getting
scary aggressive language.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to that, yes.
Okay.
I took too long.
Yeah.
But no, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying with what you added to it, possibly.
Okay.
But not just the language on its own. You know how like some people are like, oh, like an English accent or an Irish accent or something could be like hot and it's just hot on its own? I don't think it's just hot on its own.
Okay. English accent is the opposite of a Russian dialect. English is like polite and kind of upbeat, and Russian is, I think he was saying kind things to you, and it just sounded horrific.
I was trying to give nice tone to it too. I was trying to.
Oh my God!
I wasn't trying to hit the hard consonants hard.
It's just
I was trying to soften it.
It's just a very rough, cold language. Don't you think, Ben? If you were just listening to it,
I mean, you have
that knowledge.
That way.
Yeah, it sounds terrifying. You have a joke about that, about how it sounds terrifying.
Yeah, and whenever the comments are always like Russian, Hebrew, Arabic, German. Those are the four that sound scariest.
Yes,
because they're all hard consonant.
Hard consonant. Yeah. But what about vowels? Do they deserve any respect? Is it weird that the countries that have the hard consonants oppress women? Do you think there's something there? They don't use any of the vowels.
Russia actually.
What about why? Sometimes why?
Russia was way ahead of America in letting women work outside the home.
Freeze outside the home?
Yeah, same thing.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking up for your culture, Ben. But
Yeah.
Shannon, go ahead.
No, Can we hear what you did say to us?
Yeah. What did you exactly say?
Something along the lines of what kind of Russian would only hit on one girl? Every Russian. The Russian way is two women, but neither of them are looking at me. Why aren't either of them looking at me? Then you finally made eyes. I'm like, there we go. Finally, someone, you have nice lips. Why isn't the other one looking at me? And then I kept going on, you need to look at me. And then I ended.
But what about her lips?
Well, I can't see the lips without the eyes, Mike.
Yeah. Natalie was instructed not to look at you.
It's probably for the best.
During that whole exchange.
I have to do my job. I got to make sure you're framed right.
Yeah. Framed. Framed is something they do in Russia. They'll frame you.
And America.
Like Brittany Griner. 7 years in prison for pot. Good one.
That's
a good one, Ben.
Political prisoner. It's useful trade.
Yeah, and we gave you like the most evil guy ever, and you gave us a forward.
The joke I had was it's a fair trade because she's a sharpshooter. Boom! Air horn right there. That's the air horn.
We can't call for the air horns because it's still up in the air horn. About the air horn. Okay, this is a fun episode without the air horns. I mean, it really is.
Well, that's just because I'm saying air horn instead of the sound. That's what fixes. Yeah. That's the compromise solution.
Do you think that because you've been on this show before with air horns, do you think that you've been subliminally conditioned for the air horn now, and now you're in a norms crisis because there is no air horn, and you don't know how to react after the joke? Because I find myself in that predicament, Ben.
Well,
take off your glasses and be real with us.
To be real with you.
Wow. That's a huge difference. We're stripping away the layers now. Well, and by the end of it, you're going to have that blazer off, too.
Well, you told me we were going to talk about serious subjects, so I brought the blazer so that your low-income whites take my opinions more seriously.
What about your corn pipe? Do you have that, too? God, this is so good. Okay.
To answer your question,
answer the question, Ben.
Mike.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to let you talk over me. Answer the question.
I don't remember doing your podcast last time, so had you not mentioned the air horns, it would have never occurred to me.
Wow.
My world does not revolve around your podcast, but thank you for having me on. Please bring me back soon.
But it doesn't revolve around Gas Digital and the clips?
Hey, I'd be happy to come here more often if other Gas Digital hosts have me on.
Yeah.
You're the only one that fucks with me, as they say.
Well,
as the kids say.
You're a dear friend, and I think that we're going to mine this Russia thing, but I wanted to get to your family first. You play basketball. Intramural, Queens. And you guys have other comics who play on a... do you sometimes, because the games get heated, I know, do you... are you more of a physical, aggressive player than the American players?
It depends on the players. I mean...
you go after the people you don't like?
No.
Do you play vindictively?
No.
Okay.
No, I only got upset once, but I don't even think they noticed.
Throw the ball at their face?
No.
Okay.
I just want the exercise.
Missile strike? Like your country? Unprovoked?
Like every country.
Ooh, Ben, don't put it on the rest of the
I'm
world.
not saying Russia.
I'm just poking at you. I poked the bear, the Russian bear, and you came back at me like making it a world problem, Ben.
Yeah, I'm not saying Russia's good. Russia's bad. I'm just saying everyone else also bad.
Also bad. We're bad too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
America
you didn't
number
hesitate
one.
that way.
America's the worst.
Oh,
Come
my
on.
God. Did you burn a flag before the show?
No, after or during. Depends on
There's
if
a lot
they
of
start flirting
patriots
back
who-
with me or not.
There's a lot of patriots who are watching this show. American patriots, by the way. Ben, basketball, let's get to it. Because we did hot yoga together one time in about 11 years ago in Queens. And you did it one time.
Did it for a whole month till my unlimited month for $20 ran out, and then it was above my pay grade.
I'm sorry. Do you run your life according to how many Groupons you have?
Yes.
Ben, so you stopped hot yoga. It was tough, though, right?
I liked it, but it was hard. It took up half a day because,
It did.
it takes an hour and a
Yeah.
half. You get there 10 minutes early. You need to just sit there in the fetal position for 20 minutes after.
Yeah.
You shower. By the time you get home, you're still not right.
That's right.
At least 3-hour block of time. So
It's
it's just
true.
like a lot of
Yeah.
time commitment.
It
But I felt
really
good.
is. It felt great. It was right next to your place
Yeah.
when you were living up there. I won't say where because I don't want our fans to mob the area. But you're right. It does take half the day, and then you spend the other half of the day rehydrating.
Yeah.
Because you're dehydrating during it. So you did it until the group pod. I continued it. I was a friend of the studio.
Yeah,
until
you've
it
been
closed.
headlining longer than me. I get it.
I was headlining the yoga studio. I was headlining the yoga studio. They moved from your neighborhood.
They're closer
into
to my new neighborhood.
new
now.
neighborhood. What are they reopened? I think they closed. They closed.
I saw them on
during-
38th, on 23rd. but
Recently?
Not recently.
Oh no, they closed. They closed during COVID because I mean, I think the worst places during COVID were hot yoga and hookah lounges, but the hookah lounges seemed to open up immediately. I don't know how they got permits for that.
Well, they didn't have permits to begin with.
Oh.
That whole area is off the grid.
Are you anti hookah?
I'm pro hookah. I like
Pro
hookah.
hookah. I kind of don't get it. I did it in I was in, I forget what country. In Portugal, I think.
Israel.
With some,
would
no, it
make
wasn't
more
Israel.
sense.
It was. I want to say Portugal. Was it Portugal? No, that's not right. Turkey.
Turkey makes sense.
Turkey makes sense.
Turkey makes
And
sense.
we did hookah in Turkey, and I did it with troops, like American troops. And I thought it was like they go, oh, it's just because we did shows for the troops, and then afterwards I went out with them, and we all did hookah. And he goes, this is just light. It's tobacco. So I did it, and it's like, then I couldn't sleep all night. So it had to be something different than tobacco. I'm not saying U.S. forces lied to me. I'm saying maybe they didn't know because I never had done hookah before, and then I couldn't sleep all night, and I was just wired the entire next day. So is that your experience? What's your experience with hookah, Ben? I'm an active listener now.
I've smoked a good amount of hookah here and there. I can't remember it messing up my sleep. I would describe it as it's like a nice way to have a beer with friends without drinking a beer.
Right.
And it also depends on the flavor. Like I usually like a mint lemony flavor, and then it's just like fairly pleasant. I mean, you don't want to smoke that every day.
Right.
My understanding is like smoking a hookah is like smoking 3 packs of cigarettes.
Is it really?
So,
maybe
like-
that's why I couldn't sleep.
So maybe, one a month is probably where it's enjoyable without being an issue.
Yeah. I almost thought I was like, am I on meth? Like I can't sleep.
I've gotten a little lightheaded here or there,
Yeah.
where I'll feel fine, but then when I stand up 40 minutes later,
Right.
I'm like, okay, but it's like a pleasant lightheadedness. It's not. I wouldn't describe it. Like if you smoke pot, and then like it's difficult to focus. Like
Our
this is just
fans
more
do
of a
all of the
relax.
above. Most of them are on fentanyl now, watching this show.
It's mandatory to get through the entire episode, actually.
It is. We do not recommend drugs. Our fans are on them. We try to help them as much as humanly possible. So now you're on. Do you still do basketball once a week?
I screwed up my leg last summer.
Okay.
It started out as a calf strain, so I didn't do anything for 3 months. Then it didn't. Then I went for light jogs, still felt it. So then I finally went to a doctor. They sent me to PT, and PT wound up turning into a
full-fledged gym, because that's a story.
No, into a hamstring strain, and now it just hurts to sit or stand or anything, and the shitty insurance keeps rejecting my MRIs.
So what happens when the insurance rejects your MRIs? They
Then you
just reject them.
Sit
and then
here uncomfortably and get through your day.
You're stuck in PT then?
Well, no, I ran out of PT too, so now I'm left with self-hypnosis tapes, like a meditation for 10 minutes about feeling relaxation and love flowing through the leg. That's 3 F sounds in a row, not my friend.
No, that's great. I love the way that you struggle with it too. Our fans struggle with their lives. So the way that you struggled with it's flowing, the love is flowing. You do your own meditate. I love that, by the way.
I would like to issue a challenge. I would like to issue a challenge to your fans.
Okay.
To
look at them. Just look at them in the eyes.
I would like you to prove Mike wrong that you're not all low-income whites. I would like you to take a selfie outside your home or trailer and show Mike that you live in nice places.
They love it.
Tag me too at Big Ben Comedy.
I think they love it. They love me.
I'll give you this. Your fans are probably on the inside. They feel like low-income whites, but they might actually live in a nice part of town.
You could live in a nice part of town and still be a low-income white.
No, that's not how low-income works, Mike.
A low-income isn't... We talking about it from an emotional state, Ben. Emotions are something that Russians... Do you guys have them? You guys buried under muscle and ice in your blood? You guys don't seem to be an emotional culture. Correct me.
Yeah. There's when it's like your friends. It's like New Yorkers. Russians are.
I was at your wedding. You high-fived your dad. Okay, it's just a hug here and there, Ben. A hug. Now your dad's actually very emotional.
You know how like New Yorkers are like fuck off, but then they'll like help you.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I would describe the Russian.
Your dad is very emotional.
Russians are just
which might be why he got kicked out of Russia. Maybe. Because he was too emotional, and they don't tolerate that in a country of toxic masculinity. Would you describe Russia as toxic masculinity?
No, they don't have those terms.
They don't have
men
those
are
terms.
Men and women are also men.
And so are bears.
Yes.
Bears are
Everyone's
also...
a man in Russia.
Okay. Is it a big gun culture? Do you guys have guns?
Can't speak to it. I would have to actually
You didn't have a
that.
gun growing up, did you?
I came here when I was 4, so...
Okay.
Well, in Connecticut, no.
Okay. So you send love to your... what's healthcare like in Russia?
It's cash but cheap.
Oh, okay. I like that, actually. That's actually a better... Just pay a guy who says he's a doctor. You're not sure if he is or not. And then he helps you, or he doesn't. And then you hit him with a bat if he does. Like, is there violence? I assume there's violence at the end of it.
Yeah, but then the bat is quicker and cheaper to fix than if you just went through your insurance company. So.
Yeah. The insurance
it's win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win all the way around. Okay. So 30 minutes in, Shannon, you're going to love me for this one. Let's do plugs. I'm at Comic Mike V on all social media platforms, at Comic Mike V. Please, I'm almost at 100,000 Instagram followers. Please get me over the top. Get me over the top. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning into the YouTube premiere every Wednesday at 6 p.m. this week, Shannon. And we have great episodes coming at you, working on a bunch of stuff. Look, I have a lot of dates coming up, and hopefully I will be in your hometown. MikeVecchione.com. Shannon's going to pull them up right now. I'm in, after this is over, I was just in Chicago. So I love Chicago. I will be in Nyack, Levity Live, June 8th through the 10th. Austin, Texas at the Creek in the Cave, June 16th and 17th. South Norwalk, Connecticut at Space Cat Brewery, June 21st. That's during the week. And Governors, June 30th and July 1st. Governors on Long Island, one of my favorites. So those dates coming up. Just did Chicago. Nyack, New York, Austin, Texas, Norwalk, Connecticut, and Long Island, Levittown, New York. And then Stamford, Connecticut, July 6th. Right after the 4th of July, I'll be doing the New York Comedy Club, Stamford. So just MikeVecchione.com. I have a lot of new dates up there. And Ben, you'd be proud of me. I did this myself, some of them.
I noticed
without the tickets.
Some of the dates I didn't know, and I was impressed that I thought you had the other guy do it, but
No,
I guess you figured it out.
Well, I figured it out. I've been doing it. And so those are the dates. Please check out my special, The Attractives. Ben was a big part of it, helping me edit it and feedback and all like valuable stuff. The Attractives on YouTube. Shout out to Nate Land. Shout out to Nate Bargatze and 800-Pound Gorilla producing and Nate directing it and giving me a platform to put it on.
What's the view count at?
It's 1.2 million already. So thank you, guys. Nate was kind enough to put it on his platform, but all of the major networks did not want it. So we're winning it through YouTube, and it's thanks to you guys, the low-income whites. So also it's been put on the 800-Pound page, and that's already up to 32,000, and it's a couple days old. So it's just I've been on every podcast trying to promote it, and thank you guys for listening and for watching it and for sharing it. Please share it with everyone you've ever met in your life. Those are my plugs. Ben, what do you got?
I have a new comedy album out and special called Geopolitical Dick Jokes. It is on Amazon for, I think you got to rent it, or streaming for the audio-only version.
Okay.
Geopolitical Dick Jokes. And if you go to Big Ben Comedy, there's a fancy graphic that Shannon might be able to pull up in real time that I should have sent in advance.
That's okay. Big Ben Comedy to find it. Big Ben Comedy.
.com, or just follow me any of the social medias on at Big Ben Comedy. There it is.
There it is.
We found it. There's the cover.
Very cool. Okay. Anything else, Ben?
Just follow me on any of the socials, but
what's your social handle?
Big Ben Comedy.
Okay.
And I'm way more popular as far as followers on TikTok, but Instagram's been better lately, and it seems like even the low-income whites spend money through Instagram, but not TikTok. So
I get it. It's
Instagram
weird.
if you only use one.
Algorithms. Shannon, what do you got?
You can follow me on Instagram at ShannonLee6982. Listen to my podcast, The Thing Is, Ding. We talk about bad dates, fighting, and ghosts. Wherever you listen to Mike Vecchione Investigates, you can also watch it live for free every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern at gasdigitalnetwork.com/live. That's absolutely free. Nope, gasdigital.com/live. Sorry. That's absolutely free. The best way to support the show is to go to gasdigital.com. Use promo code MVI. That'll get you a 1-week free trial, which gives you access to every single episode of this show that we've ever done, as well as every episode of every show on all of Gas Digital Network, all for free for 1 week. If you have questions, comments, or video investigations to submit, send it in to MikeVecchioneInvestigates@gmail.com. If you listen on iTunes, YouTube, wherever you listen, make sure to rate, review, tell a friend, leave a comment, subscribe. Every little bit of interaction helps the show to grow. And go to merchengine.com for t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs. And that's it.
Natalie, what do you have? Natalie, thank you for joining us again.
Of course.
Our daughter is home from college. Every time we have an episode with you now, it's like a gift.
That's part of my plot.
It's part of your charm.
Yeah.
Oh, because we weren't appreciating you at the level that you needed us to appreciate you.
That's
so
exactly
then
right.
You've made yourself supply and demand. You've left yourself. You vacated so that we would miss you more.
That's exactly right.
It worked
I'm glad.
because we are crying out for you.
Natalie DeChico edits on Instagram, and watch Gas Digital now on the Gas Digital exclusive YouTube channel.
Perfect. Okay, Ben, before we get to some investigations, which I'm glad you put your glasses back on for this, because we're going to need all the intellect that we can muster. There's a thing going on in my building right now where someone is buzzing in, and they're dressed like a delivery person, and they're coming in and they're stealing packages from the building, the lobby of the building. And my question to you is, how would this be dealt with in Russia?
Retinal eye scan,
Yeah.
and then if it doesn't match, a blade comes out and stabs them in the eye.
Wow. Violence. Violence is how you guys would deal with, because in the Middle East, don't they, if you steal something, and they catch you, don't they cut your hand off?
I've heard that, yeah.
They cut the hand that you were, your lead hand that you were stealing with.
They like throw something at you and see which hand you try to catch it with, and that's the hand that goes?
That's a good test. That's a really good test to see which is your dominant hand, and then cut that one off.
Yeah.
But what if you're ambidextrous? Then it's
Not
like,
anymore.
Yeah. You have to make your left hand the lead hand. Wouldn't it suck if you were a great piano player, but then also were a klepto, and then you stole and you got one of the hands cut off? Shannon, is there a story like that anywhere where a piano player gets a hand cut off and then has to play with one hand?
You just have that drummer from that 80s band, right?
Yeah, Def Leppard, I think is what you're looking for.
Yep, that.
We had him on the SDR show.
He was great.
He is great.
He played, but he lost his arm in a car accident.
At least that's the cover story for his kleptomania.
Maybe he was stealing. He was stealing maybe something from Quiet Riot or one of the other 80s bands.
Right, or just from the Hilton. But that's not a badass rocker story. Oh, I stole something from a Hilton and they chopped my hand off. So you got to go with, I got drunk, had a car accident, they chopped my hand off. It's a good cover story.
It is a good cover
You should
story.
uncover it in your investigations, perhaps.
Well, we can't have him on the show. We don't have the budget that Ralph has.
By the way, I did find that there was a mystery horror film called The Beast with Five Fingers about a piano player that had one arm cut off. But I can't find a real story about it.
Right.
But there was a movie made about it.
How did he get the one arm cut off? Can you find that or no?
Let me scroll. Hold on.
Okay. Because playing piano, because that's a great idea. We're always thinking of ideas for like movies and shows. That's a great idea for a movie where it's like he's a prodigy and he's doing great, but then he's a klepto also, and then he gets it cut off. He gets his hand cut off because of his kleptomania, and then is forced to play with one hand and be even better than he was before. And plus, then he has the disabled label on him, and it's like everybody's even more amazed. And then he makes all the money back, but he still can't stop stealing. And then he gets the other one cut off, and he's forced to play with his nose. Is that a twist ending, do you think, as like a guy who pitches?
It's a good twist ending. My twist on your pitch would be to give it more of an emotional resonance.
Yeah.
He's not a klepto just to be a klepto, but his family is so poor that they choose piano lessons over food, so he just keeps stealing food so the family can eat.
Can I say
you're rooting for
Can
him.
I take issue with you on that? I think it's better if they're already like middle class or have money, and he's not stealing for food, but he's stealing because he's flawed. Like he's just flawed. He's not stealing for food. Like food is like gives him more of an endearing. Like
make him endearing, but then it becomes like over that time he develops kleptomania from necessity, but even when he doesn't need it, it keeps going because he's flawed, and then that's the downfall.
Wait, say it. You lost me. He starts doing it because of food, and then he becomes addicted to it.
Becomes addicted and likes it even when he starts succeeding. He doesn't need to steal for food anymore. He's already making some piano money, but he just keeps doing it because positive feedback loop. It just became his thing.
I say cut the food thing altogether. It makes him just have him be like a little bit of a he's a geniuses can be jerks.
Well, I'm keeping him flawed, but I'm saying
is that the name of it? Geniuses can be jerks.
The piano jerk.
The piano jerk. The prodigy problem. God, it's got to be a double P in there for alliteration.
Or the kleptopianiac.
Get your hands off my pianist. All right, Shannon. I saw you shake your head at that, and it killed my confidence.
No, I was already shaking my head at Ben's joke, and then I just continued it on to yours.
Well, is this a different podcast now? Instead of horns, Shannon, you're going to have disgruntled head shakes?
Maybe.
And maybe we should cut to you? And then our fans who can't afford a computer, most of them, are going to be lost because they can't see it.
Maybe she can just tisk. Maybe that's your adjustment.
Yeah. Shannon does sighs, but it's not you doing the sigh, it's you recording your own sigh and hitting a button so that we can have the artificial sound piped in to this hot pod. All right. That was enough. That was a great one though, Ben, right? You weren't expecting that.
I never know what to expect.
43 minutes in, we've broken new ground.
I know Mike's having fun because he keeps counting the minutes.
It's this is a compact podcast, Ben, and it's a show, and we have an agenda. And our low-income fans, one of the one of the downsides of not having enough nutrition because they eat garbage is that they don't have an attention span. So we need to like keep wowing them with great ideas, and like that's what the horn thing was for. It's like it wakes them up if they're like get distracted by watching
from their glucose spikes and drops.
Yeah, and plus if they were like distracted by their cat who got into the laundry and is just like rustling around, and they go, "Oh, that's cute," and then the horn kind of wakes them up and snaps them back into the podcast. That was the whole goal of it, but it didn't do much for our numbers, so we're trying a different strategy because we're flexible. Ben, let's get into some investigations. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
And some of these are Russian heavy, so just come at it with, because you're Russian and you're American. Dual citizenship?
No, we had to give it up when we came here.
Give it up, dog. You're an American now. Sorry. Russia extends detention of U.S. journalists. This hits home for me because I'm a journalist now, Shannon. I tried comedy for 23 years and did not work out. So now I'm doing journalism. And it turns out that Russia is putting journalist Evan say it, Shannon? Gershkovich? Evan Gershkovich. Cousin? Evan Gershkovich by 3 months. Russia extends detention of U.S. journalists. They're putting our truth tellers in jail.
Did you just call a journalist a truth teller?
A truth teller. Freedom of the press. It's one of the amendments. I think the first one.
Yeah, but that hasn't
number
been...
one amendment.
I mean, there hasn't been freedom of the press since all the social media has been working with the CIA and government to suppress stuff.
Wow. How deep of a blanket of conspiracy are you under, Ben?
Level 2.
Level 2. Is there any free press left in the United States?
There is, but it just doesn't get the retweet type stuff that,
well, maybe stop
that
getting
the
your news
official
off.
narrative does.
Could I chastise you for a second?
Sure.
Stop getting your news on Twitter. How about that?
I find that's the best source of Twitter.
Sources?
Twitter's the best source of news at this point.
Oh, but if it's not retweeted enough, then you won't read it? Is that what you're saying, Ben?
I try to not read any news, actually, at this point. I just wear the glasses and blazer, and that kind of balances it out.
Yeah, you look like a pundit.
It's a trick your low-income whites can use to seem smarter than they are.
Are you guys listening to that? That's
Giving
some advice.
Actionable advice, you're welcome.
Yeah, and you guys could actually get a job.
That's going too far.
Driving a forklift. Sorry.
But driving a forklift in a blazer will get you promoted to forklift boss.
Because dress for the job that you want. Foreman Mills.
See, I didn't even know what the boss of a forklift is.
Oh, I'm sorry. My warehouse humor is getting...
I actually works in a warehouse at a college, but as a consultant telling the 45-year-olds what...
You're so much better than us, Ben, and our fans are just... they're tired of being talked down to.
You're the one talking down at them.
I know, but I'm doing it from a blue collar, which is just one rung above them. You're doing it 5 rungs above them. God, they hate it. And we love it. Russia extends detention of U.S. journalist Evan Gershkovich by 3 months. Shannon, could you read a little bit? And then Ben and me, I'm sure it's going to be hotly debated.
Okay, so I'm going to try the name one more time. Gershkovich, an American citizen, was ordered held until August 30th initially. He had been arrested in March on espionage charges on a reporting trip in Russia. So it's supposed to be in August that there was a hearing, but there wasn't, and they kept pushing it. So then they had one in secrecy, and they haven't revealed any of the evidence of why they're holding him on espionage charges.
Okay, Ben, is there due process in Russia?
Not really. But,
so is that why they did that? They had a hearing scheduled and decided to do it in secret, which is not something you can do here?
You mean like Guantanamo did for years?
Oh, Ben, stop turning it back on the United States.
I'm not saying Russia's bad, just America also bad.
Yeah,
in similar ways.
But is it like
it's the high horse of America that bothers me?
No, I'm not going to let you put down this country, and that could be a clip. A patriot puts down Russian dissident. It could be a clip. Anyway, I'm just saying, I'm pitching ideas for the clip. Due process. Guantanamo is you're dealing with people who are committing war crimes against the United States.
Most of those people never got charged, Mike. They were just held indefinitely.
Can I finish my thought without being cut off by a glacier of reason? Okay, so they're foreign enemies, which is different than a journalist that is in Russia. Is this? Do you think this journalist is being perceived as a foreign threat? Is that why they moved the trial in secret?
There was, I think it was back in the 80s, a bunch. The only American things allowed in Soviet Union were like McDonald's and Coca-Cola.
Yes.
So a lot of the people that worked for McDonald's were CIA operatives because that was their cover to be in Russia. So it's not like they're pulling it out of thin air.
Right.
Could he be a real journalist and they're just fucking with him? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it also possible he is an espionage? Yes, we don't know the evidence either way, nor it sounds will we ever, and they're probably using him as a negotiation piece to get something else.
But do you ever heard the word transparency, Ben? Is that what when I say the word transparency, what's your visceral reaction? Because I felt I'm in the studio with you, so I saw your body tense up through your blazer, which is probably why you're wearing a blazer to cover the tension. And you have a visceral reaction to it. Visceral's a challenging word for our fans with limited intelligence, but you tightened up when I said transparency.
Yeah, I feel.
What's it mean to you?
To me, it means anytime someone throws around the word transparency, that means they're about to lie to you.
Oh, so you're turning it back on me, and calling me a liar. Then is that a negotiation tactic where you put the other person on the back foot? They ask you a provocative question, trying to get to the answer, and you go deeper and insult them so that they're on the defensive and they lose track of their train of thought and the question that they're trying to ask you?
Exactly.
Transparency, Ben. I'm not going to fall for it. You'd be proud for me, for the American fans listening, and that's the American camera, and you are looking at the Russian camera. Okay, so that's like state television, and this is our freedom of press. And so transparency is not something that you guys are big on.
No, but neither is the American government.
We're big on transparency? We're not?
Maybe if
we give the illusion. Are you saying we give the illusion?
Yeah, illusion
of transparency, but we're not.
No, not for the important shit. Or eventually it comes out. It's like the bullshit version is page 1, and then the real truth is 2 years later on page 48.
Right, because we operate in secret too.
Everyone does it. You'd be as a government official.
But can this guy even get a trial that's not in secret? And what about he's got to have some due process, doesn't he?
That country's not based on due process. The country's based on we no longer like kings, so we're going to bury them all in the backyard with a bullet to the back of the head.
Okay, so is it that simple that you can just explain injustice by we don't do that anymore? Can you just explain injustice by like, we're not doing that anymore. We're putting a bullet in the back of your head and burying them. That's what this country is about. Can you do that?
I would say Russia,
like that's what you're doing, Ben.
Feels more straightforward, where if the people in charge don't like what you do, you disappear.
Right.
Whereas here, it's a little more, no, due process, but then not really, and the DA's bought off anyway, and blah, blah, blah. And it ends up similar enough. But here they don't kill you as often, to be fair.
Oh, yeah, we don't.
And Epstein killed himself, so you know.
And we don't, way to pick the one guy that might have. But that might have been killed. But do you think poisoning is a big thing? And you guys seem to love to poison people.
Yeah. I mean, like the joke I have goes, political science is the easiest major in Russian universities because the answer to any question is you poison them.
Poison them. And it's like food poisoning. You put it in people's food?
Depending on, there's different types of poison. There's the Breaking Bad food poisoning. There's also like the more radioactive poison that just if it's
that kills you
slow. Slow and way more painfully.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
God. That sucks. Have you ever had food poisoning?
Yeah.
Let's relate to some of our fans who can't stop eating. You've had food poisoning before?
I've had food
And what did
poisoning.
it feel like? Do you think that it was your wife trying to give you a little taste of your own medicine?
No.
Okay, but were you suspicious because you guys were trying to get the schedule down for your daughter and you guys were not getting along? And then you said, I need a timeout because you learned that in therapy. And we have a timeout and get a snack break. And then you went to the kitchen and you ate some goulash, whatever your food is. And then you started feeling a little queasy and uncontrolled vomiting. And then you tended to blame somebody, and that was your wife?
Didn't blame my wife because she barely cooks, so it can't be her fault.
Oh, what a slam off of a poisoning accusation.
That's a defensive slam. That was a passive-aggressive slam, which was a different podcast we used to do. Anyway.
Yeah, a good...
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. A good... you use offense as a good defense. And we're going back to basketball? It's a strategy. Give me. Can
last
you give me?
time I had food poisoning.
Yes, give me a good food poisoning story.
I wish that someone would staple my stomach so I'd never eat again, kind of like your listeners wish they would have their stomach stapled so they'd stop being 800 pounds.
God, 800-pound gorilla, by the way, did my special, and shout out to them.
That's another air horn right there.
That's another.
That's a nice tie.
Would have been
together.
a lot of air horns here, by the way, and we're not just going to talk about it. We will bring them back if we're pushed. If provoked, we will cave.
I definitely remember I had food poisoning right before I had to drive to Massachusetts for a gig.
Oh my God, isn't it the best in the car?
Oh, it was awful. And then I drove to Connecticut to take a break at my dad's, and he looked at me and was like, "I'm driving you the rest of it." And I think I had to get on a flight the day after. It was a bad timing.
That's the worst with food poisoning and heavy travel. The last time I had it was I was on the road. And I had a Sunday show, and I'd eat something that didn't agree with me on Saturday night. And Sunday, I was just in that fetal position, rocking back and forth, and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know which end. I'm not trying to be gross because I know people are eating
uncontrollably.
So it's just like you're rocking back and forth, and it's that bug that's in you, and it's like you don't know where it's going to come out of, and you just have to be close to it. I don't know how you. I actually don't know how you travel with that because you're rocking back and forth, and it's like it's going to come from. It's going to come out of somewhere, and it's like you need access to a toilet. You need to be curled up next to a toilet. So how did you travel with it?
It was the day after, but where it was
you're still not feeling good.
You're not right. But instead of it coming out of one end or the other every 20 to 40 minutes, it's to 4 hours or 6 hours.
Right.
But you're still
messed up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the travel doesn't help the motion of the car or plane.
Nothing. I think I slept in the back seat the whole time.
Yeah. But is that usually how you do it? You because our fans sleep in their cars all the time. Okay. Shannon, what happened?
He even looked for the air horn there. I saw the eyes.
No, we're comfortable.
Eyes.
Now we're comfortable with silence on this pod. Shannon, what's the next? What happened? What's the next thing in this story? Is this guy going to get out?
So we're waiting for them to reveal any information. No additional information is known to us yet, but this guy is the first U.S. correspondent since the Cold War to be detained in Russia on spying charges. So it's made all journalists get nervous.
Do you think that he said something, and because this is actually what I think if you say something that the Russian government doesn't like, they just call you a spy and detain you?
I mean, they're arresting their own people. You can't call the situation with Ukraine a war. You can only call it a special military operation. So, it's not exclusive to Americans.
They're not even calling it a war?
No, it's a special military operation. They're joking my geopolitical dick jokes. Special is similarly, my wife and I didn't have a week-long fight. We had a special celibacy operation.
It's all about labeling and branding. Is it, Ben?
No, that was about a joke.
Okay. I wonder if this guy's ever going to get released. Where is he now, Shannon? An undisclosed location? Somewhere deep in the Soviet Union?
Yeah.
Former Soviet Union?
Yes. It does say that U.S. embassy officials were allowed at least one prison visit to him since his arrest in March. But Russian authorities have denied permission for other visits. But that's all.
Here's my question. How many articles has this journalist published before he got detained? Does he have a 20-year history of publishing articles? Or did he write one thing once and then they sent him here as a journalist? That might be circumstantial evidence for one way or the other.
He worked for the Wall Street Journal. I'm just trying to see for how long. Oh, a lot. There's a lot of articles.
A lot of articles. All right.
Yeah.
Was it his articles critical of Russia, I would imagine?
Yeah. So this one, Vladimir Putin criticizes West as Xi Jinping strikes softer tone. He's reporting news there, and it's generally not going to be sparkly and pretty.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of articles.
Do you think Steven Seagal could help? Isn't he like a guy or
Dennis
liaison?
Rodman? Dennis Rodman will do.
Dennis Rodman's in North Korea, but it's like there's a liaison. I think Steven Seagal is in Putin's good graces, and I think Steven Seagal should step up and help this guy out. Right.
I think that's a great idea.
With his karate.
Mm-hmm.
Karate of the mouth.
Oh.
I don't know.
His ponytail.
In his ponytail. I haven't heard from Steven Seagal in a while. Do you think he's okay?
He hasn't called you?
I would pay.
Maybe after he hears this.
I'd pay $49.95 to watch Steven Seagal do karate against Putin. That would be a fun, evenly matched, people in their 70s type of a fight.
Is Putin sick?
It's the rumors.
Is he?
The
you know the
photos.
inside as a former as being over there?
The photos, I mean, I haven't been there in over a decade, but the photos that are shown, his face looks puffy.
Does he have a body double?
I imagine all second and third world people have a cadre of body doubles.
And stop saying words that are sometimes a woman's name. Cadre. Ben, you like to do this thing, and it's a very smart method of debating, where you take something that I'm asking you about Russia and you extrapolate it out to the whole world. Does it?
And that's
and
why
I'm saying to you, does Putin have a body double? Yes or no?
Probably. I don't have the way to check, but it would make sense.
See, this is why you guys hate the press, and you would put me in an undisclosed prison with no trial right now if you could. I could tell by the way that you're mocking my quest. You're mocking me, and that translates to I would put you into a frozen Siberian prison with no trial. Tell me I'm wrong, Ben.
You're wrong, Mike.
Okay.
I would put you in a summer prison because I know you grew up in Florida, so I'd want you to be somewhat comfortable but also uncomfortable.
A palm tree prison?
Yeah.
Good food?
No. I already said Florida.
Oh, that was a slam on a lot of our peninsula
you can catch me in Miami in January and February.
Let's go to the second one, Shannon, and we got to go fast here. We have one more after this. Russia claims it repelled one of the war's most serious cross-border attacks. They call it a war here. Ben, do you still call it a
special military operation?
Special military operation?
If I want to ever go back into the country, I do.
Yeah, or you'll be detained.
I probably can't go back at this point.
What does Russia claim, Shannon?
So their military said Tuesday it quashed what appeared to be one of the most serious cross-border attacks from Ukraine since the war began, claiming to have killed more than 70 attackers in a battle that lasted around 24 hours.
24 hours is a long time for fans not to eat. Quashed. Ben, what if, and I'm just going to put it to you straight. What if Ukraine flips this military conflict and takes over Russia? Then what do you have to say, Ben?
It might very well happen.
Yes.
That's, I mean, depending on when you call the start of the conflict, in 2014, Ukraine was going into Russian territory. There was a whole conflict going before this conflict started that's kind of all connected.
It's like when you fight with your wife and then you have that fight and you go, well, this isn't really about this. This is about 2 days ago when I alluded to the fact that you left the dishes in the dishwasher and that you're a bit of a slob.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. That's what it is.
I'm relating it to our fans who, that scenario,
they don't have wives,
they don't
according
have wives.
to you earlier in this episode.
They're incels. Imaginary friends? Cadre? Cadre's a name. Let's go to the last one, Shannon. Russian Prime Minister starts China visit, vows to deepen economic ties. Russia and China together. This is scary for a red-blooded American who was born in Ohio and grew up in Florida. How do you respond to this, Ben?
Sounds like a good buddy cop flick to me.
Russia and China together?
Well, look, they're both,
evil. You could say it.
They both are strong. They both don't like dissent, and America's not helping them. Although I feel China owns most of America at this point. But
well, we export a lot of food to China, don't we? Don't we export food to China? And I think that they're eating off of our menu, so to speak. So yes, we're in a trade deficit with them, but we export all our food. Is that right, Ben? Do you think?
That would be a fact check question that I wouldn't debate because I'm sure there's some sort of facts.
We do export soybeans to China.
Slammed, Ben. No more soybeans, China. If you keep up the nonsense and get with Russia and talk with Russia behind, let's turn into Real Housewives. If China talks with Russia behind our backs, we are going to flip out on you both. Ben, do one also about Russia and China. I'm buying some time. Russia and China talking smack about us behind our backs. God, we're not going to put up with it, Ben.
If America keeps sending bullets to Ukraine, Russia and China are going to bring a frying pan over and bop America on the forehead. How about that?
That's a good one. That was more of a Flintstones
Real Housewives don't have the... I just imagine all Italian women with a frying pan swinging it. Is that not...
Wine bottle,
Shannon.
More updated.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Mine was the 50s version.
Yeah.
and a bop in the head. A bop in the head?
That's English. That's what UK people say. Bop.
A bop in the head on the
Yeah.
lift? All right. I don't know what we solved here, Ben, but it was great having you on. Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me on. I'm glad we could solve nothing together.
No, Ben, we got to the bottom of some real stuff. We've got to the bottom of the fact that you have a great family and that you are praying away your calf injury.
Now
and
a
also-
hamstring injury.
And now a hamstring. Instead of curing it, you've turned it into a hamstring.
I've tripled it into, instead of it being this much of a leg, it's the entire leg now.
Okay, you've made it worse, actually.
But if it was a Bitcoin investment, it would have gone up.
Okay. And we've solved that Russia. You still are staunchly defending Russia.
Not
If
staunchly defending.
You're
Russia
extrapolating out to
evil,
the rest.
war bad, but America also does evil war all the
But
time,
are we
so
as
let's not
ba-
moralize it.
Are we as bad as them, Russia?
70% is bad, probably.
Okay, so we're not as bad as Russia.
Slightly less bad.
Okay, so can you just look into the camera and say America is better than Russia?
America is slightly less bad than Russia.
We'll take it. For Shannon, for Natalie, who's joined us, and God, we appreciate
Still hasn't
her
looked
being-
at me. I checked.
Will not make eye contact. And for Big Ben, thank you so much for joining us, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next week. Guys, thank you for listening to Mike Vecchione Investigates. And if you go to gasdigitalnetwork.com and use promo code MBI, you will get 1 week free. That's gasdigitalnetwork.com, promo code MBI, you will get 1 week free. Thank you again for listening to Mike Vecchione Investigates on the Gas Digital Network.